Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Sri Lanka, followed by Singapore.
Secretary General, President of the General Assembly, Sri Lanka joins the statements delivered on behalf of the G77 in China. Permit me the honor, Mr. President, to make the following points in my national capacity. I wish to join others in thanking the Secretary General for the briefing which outlined where we are and the status quo with regard to the implementation of our common agenda. This afternoon, his was a call for a generous response to the challenges faced by humankind today. He called for an agenda of action and not just lip service, an urgent call to the developed world. Mr. President, we are still 7 years away from realizing the 2030 agenda. This agenda was arrived at after much consultation as a successor to the Millennium Development Goals. The development agenda of many countries, including Sri Lanka, have been predicated on the SDGs. At a time when many developing countries are suffering from the polycrisis, the simultaneous occurrence of several catastrophic events, that we talk about, and in a situation where the UNDP has listed 54 countries as being in debt distress, and the World Bank identifying 137 countries as being underdeveloped. The focus, I say, should be on how to reinvigorate the journey towards the 2030 agenda and how the multilateral financial institutions, as well as South-South and triangular cooperation, could forge the necessary partnerships for this purpose. It might even be fitting, I say, to consider whether we should engage in a review summit every 2 years in the run-up to the ultimate summit in 2030. As the Secretary General candidly observed this afternoon, we are presently far off track to 2030. Member States in Resolution 76-307 agreed to hold a Summit of the Future in September of next year and to hold a preparatory ministerial meeting this year. In line with this, a number of parallel processes have been launched, some mandated, some not. It is important that these processes ensure the effective participation of all delegations and avoid overlaps, as was observed before, of other important processes which are already mandated by member states. We must guard ourselves from such overlaps, as well as duplicity of processes that will create a severe constraint on all delegations. And for smaller delegations like mine, it will be placing us in a very difficult position of having to choose which processes to follow, and this would surely leave us disadvantaged, if not behind. My delegation welcomes the idea of providing policy briefs for the specific tracks identified by the Secretariat, which we believe would be important sources for the discussion. Finally, we would also emphasize that this preparatory process is essentially an intergovernmental process, as stated in OP 16 of Resolution 76-307, while major groups and other stakeholders are encouraged to engage in the process. Let us work towards global solidarity, a renewed social contract, insulate ourselves from an unreliable barrage of information. Let's build intergenerational trust, invest in human capital, and not measure riches by economic prosperity, and by nourishing multilateralism within the system of this august body. We will, Sri Lanka will, fully support these initiatives towards making these goals a reality. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Sri Lanka.